There he is. There he is. Good morning, everyone. Give yourselves a round of applause, for heaven's sakes. Nice digs, right? Nice spot. This is pretty good stuff right here. Good morning, one and all. To those of you in the room and those joining via live stream, welcome. I'm Greg Morris. I'm the CEO of the New York City Employment and Training Coalition. Before I go any further, I do want to acknowledge two special people who I believe may be watching online right now, my parents. If they manage the registration link. Yeah, I've been thinking about them a lot, actually. My father, my first job was as a paper boy in upstate New York. And that's how old I am. And we would have papers you'd collect on the corner, and then you would deliver them to the houses in upstate New York, in the neighborhood where I grew up. And the weekend edition of the papers was like twice the size of the week edition. And I didn't get a lot of instruction or guidance from the person who gave me that job. The gentleman who gave me that job simply said, don't be like the wingnut who had the job before you. That was the advice I got. Well, thankfully, my father, and on a winter day like this in upstate New York, his beard would be covered in icicles. He would stand beside me. He would remember to get me up on time. He would stand beside me, and he would give me a hand and support my effort to be the paper boy that I ended up being. He would show me the ropes. He was the steady force that made something difficult that I didn't exactly know how to do manageable. Now, my father's journey was not a linear one. He started his career as a floor sweeping at General Electric, which was a massive corporate entity in Schenectady, New York, where I grew up when I was a kid. And my father worked his way up from being a floor sweeper all the way up to a top-level machinist, which means he was making a good salary without a college degree. He built a life that way, and he built a life for our family that way. But his stability in that job eroded over time as GE downsized. And he literally went from being a floor sweeper to a machinist back down to being a floor sweeper again. But he did what people do. He adapted. He went back to school as an adult, working full-time nights as he did, and earned his paralegal degree from Schenectady County Community College. Shout out to the SUNY chancellor who's with us today and coming up next for the support and love that Schenectady County Community College gave to my dad. My dad's training led to a second-act career as a paralegal, the title and definition of title abstractor. It's meticulous, behind-the-scenes work that helps people keep their homes and families and properties secure. He did so well with such quiet integrity over time that when he retired, the mayor of Schenectady awarded him a key to the city. If he was here, he would tell you he's not sure what that key opens. He's still seeking an answer. My mother had a similar nonlinear path, but connected within a specific sector. She was a nurse by training. She worked with veterans to start. I remember her days in the ICU and even in supporting psychiatric services. Later on in life, she returned and earned her master's degree in nurse management. She moved from the bedside to broader work supporting people and institutions that care for all of us, ultimately retiring with a very fancy title, Director of Clinical and Quality Services at the New York State Health Facilities Association. It's a role I think she loved most because it put her back in the classroom, teaching the next generation to lead with excellence and compassion. She also cared for her own parents, my grandparents, as they aged. And I've come to believe through every chapter of her life and career, she carried with her and instilled in me one truth, that caring for others is an honor. When I look around this room, I understand why it feels something like home to me. You do what my parents spent their lives doing, helping people move forward, steadying them in hard moments, making progress possible, lightening the load. And that's a perfect lens, I would suggest, to understand the theme of this year's conference, advancing affordability. Because affordability isn't abstract. It's the lived reality of whether someone has the support they need to take their next step, one foot in front of the other. It's whether the city makes that step easier or harder. You see, affordability isn't just an economic condition. It's a human one. As I wrote recently in an article published in The Hill, we're living through a cost of living workforce challenge, and the data makes that plain. Nationally, wages have grown at barely half the pace of household costs, and here in New York City, the cost of living has risen far faster than incomes. You know this. When the cost of living outstrips wages and supports, workers aren't just squeezed. Their economic future is stalled. They can't retrain, they can't take risks, they can't move on to better jobs, and they can't plan for what's next. And employers who need talent can't find it because their workers are pinned in place. Affordability doesn't exist without a strong workforce system. And a strong workforce system cannot exist without affordability. The two rise and fall together. Now, I know some of you may be noticing that I'm being somewhat more measured today in my language. My cadence may be a little steadier than usual. If you've been to past conferences or convenings, I sometimes am called upon to put on some sort of performance, perhaps. But today, I'm trying hard to be the pointed, I'm trying hard to be somewhat demure. There's a reason for that. I am, after all, a member of the mayor-elect's transition team. Come to think of it, I may very well be the only person on that 400-member transition team with deep lived experience in workforce development. One among 400. But who's counting? By the way, credit to Debbie Roman, who was here earlier. Shout out to Debbie. Give her a round of applause. While some of us were sunning in Somos, running from one session to another, she sent me a text. She looked at the mayor-elect's transition website and noticed when it came to interests of talent they were seeking, workforce development didn't appear. And when I saw it myself, I couldn't help but wonder whether we understand what this moment is, what this new era will require. Workforce can't be an afterthought, not if we care about affordability, mobility, inclusivity, accessibility, equity, stability, opportunity, prosperity, and community, the future of our city. And honestly, if you combine the people in this room and everyone who registered to attend this conference over the course of 2 days, and everyone online, we outnumber the transition team by a pretty healthy margin. We might as well send them our head count. We are, by default, the actual transition team. On that note, if you could do a modest favor, if you're in this room at this particular moment and you have some sort of social media connection, you have some sort of electronic item in your hands and you want to take a picture of yourself or this particular audience or this particular space that we are in together, you should. Because we should capture this and we should make it clear to this city that when we stand together, and that is not to be taken for granted. During this conference, I'm going to ask our moderators and our speakers to name the elephants in the room And I'm going to be honest with you now, this city is powered by talent and determination of its people. But you know, like I do, we are wasting both. Not because New Yorkers aren't ready to work, but because the barriers that we've built or have been built are punishing. Childcare costs more than rent. Housing swallows entire checks. Food prices are a monthly crisis. And the so-called pathways even we in this room advertise don't always lead anywhere. Meanwhile, the labor market is sliding in the wrong direction. Low-wage jobs are exploding. Middle-wage jobs are disappearing. And the scaffolding we have made for opportunity is unsteady, unfinished, or not quite high enough. My friends in higher ed, I know you're still trying to figure out what it means to have career access in a world where you are being challenged to tell people what the value a college degree has. And students know it. Philanthropy is stuck between funding what it has historically loved to do and actually keeping the organizations that hold our system together from collapsing. And labor is trying to upskill its membership while fighting for PLAs on every project, every new project in every borough, because that's the only way they say they can ensure that union workers actually get the jobs they've been promised and that they can actually build more on-ramps into union careers for the next generation. Adults who want to reskill can't afford to lose a week of income to do so. Young people eager to begin their futures and are funneled into a maze of disconnected programs. They still have the highest rates of unemployment in New York City. SYEP is a success case for this city, but it's built for exposure, not long-term advancement. And then there are our employers, all saying they want to hire, all claiming they need talent like yesterday, sometimes insisting that the opportunities aren't in place to bring talent on board because the workforce system in their mind is so fractured, it practically dares them to participate. And small businesses, well, they're getting crushed. They don't have HR departments or lobbyists or legal teams. They're trying to hire people to fill orders and fix the Wi-Fi at the same time. All of this is happening just as the debate over a $30 an hour minimum wage heats up. A conversation that is absolutely about dignity, but also about the real pressure employers feel when every other cost in their world is rising faster than revenue. Add in the macro hits, tariffs driving up costs, supply chains choking the margins, and every employer, especially the small ones, being asked to stretch every dollar like it's elastic. It's not. But I don't think this is a people problem. This is a plumbing problem. Because we don't have one workforce system in New York City. We have several. And while the city's power shifts with an incoming mayor, a new speaker, and we can see the gubernatorial race heating up in the distance, something else happened in Washington that's not waiting for us to get our house in order. The Federal Budget Reconciliation Act strips back the safety nets holding up New Yorkers, threatening food security, adding layers of new work requirements that are nearly impossible to document if you don't have stable hours, child cares, sick days. Here's the truth about our workforce system. And I say this as someone who has seen it up close, and I've signed an NDA for the transition team, but nothing I'm gonna say here is new or gonna get me in trouble, I don't think, because I've been public about this stuff before. What we have is not a lack of tools. What we have is a city full of agencies, institutions, and organizations acting like Swiss Army knives, each trying to do everything on their own. Intermediaries are like extension cords looking for sockets to plug into, trying to keep everything powered with duct tape, borrowed voltage, and sheer goodwill. It's been written that a system design starts not with programs or policies, but with people, recognizing that individuals' skill-building needs vary widely depending on their lived experience. The system must offer choices, support a range of actors whose programs align, and flex to meet individual needs. So, if we genuinely believe that affordability is workforce policy, and if you have a bracelet on your hand that says so, you can feel free to hold that up at any time, then New York must align around the core forces that actually determine whether people can build stable, dignified lives here. That starts with a laser-like focus on keeping more New Yorkers from slipping deeper into poverty. It means a real commitment to our college stop-outs, the hundreds of thousands of adults who can most quickly earn credits and credentials that can move incomes upward and unlock real economic mobility. And it requires doubling down on investment in our economic mobility hubs where the systems that define opportunity meet: housing, education, workforce development, financial security, health, neighborhood development, justice, technology. These hubs are a single point of access where data, services, and supports are aligned. So no person has to navigate 6 agencies, institutions, or organizations just to take one step forward. To get there, we might consider having a deputy mayor of workforce development. I'll pause there. A deputy mayor for workforce development with the mandate and authority to align our entire system, enforce data transparency, and ensure performance accountability across those agencies. We could champion a truly independent workforce development board, one that serves as both the strategic brain of the system and its accountability backbone, and elevate the idea that a reconstituted funders network is essential, a united effort where philanthropy moves in step with public strategy rather than around it. You don't have to. Without a coordinated structure, the city cannot braid funding across public and philanthropic streams, nor can it meet the federal government's growing demands for alignment, performance, and outcomes. And by the way, for putting every idea on the table, maybe we should think again about a Department of Employment, or better yet, creating a Department of Economic Mobility that has the muscle to scale what works and retire what doesn't. A department with the authority to expand access to growth sector opportunities across industries and across regions, and to push both the city and state leaders to commit the sustained funding required to make our work real. Perhaps most importantly, it means establishing a dedicated membership and advocacy entity that connects city and state interests from Montauk to Champlain in support of working people. Let's call it the Empire State Workforce Network. But these are just ideas off the top of my head. One's either suggested directly by you, inspired by you, or otherwise implanted in my brain by those of you in this room or those of you watching online. To be entirely candid, this conference isn't convened to solve a thing. We called folks from not just New York City, but across the country to join us to share in the journey, a journey rooted in excellence and compassion, and the honor and responsibility of doing what we do on the daily, no matter the borough or the perceived boundary, and that's lightening the load. Thanks for coming out today. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with NYC ETC. I appreciate that. That's an honor. And so we begin. Dean Angie Kamath is here. She is the Dean of NYU School of Professional Studies. She's going to kick us off with our panels. Thank you.